A morning I thought would have been perfect for me. I woke up early on Monday morning feeling like I could conquer the world. My name is Maya Rodriguez. I'm 28 years old, and I thought I had the perfect life. I had worked at Blake Technologies for 3 years, and I absolutely loved my job. Everyone knew I was the best software developer in the company. Today is going to be amazing, I said to myself as I put on my favorite red blazer in front of the mirror. I had just finished a huge project that would save the company millions of dollars. My boss, Mr. Richard Blake, had promised me a promotion, and today was the day. I ate breakfast quickly, practically dancing around my small apartment. I drove to the office with my music playing loud, singing along to every song. When I walked through those glass doors, I had the biggest smile on my face. My coworkers waved at me, and my best friend Jasmine gave me a huge hug. "Ready for your big day, girl?" Jasmine asked with a grin. I was born ready, I replied confidently, adjusting my blazer. But I had absolutely no idea that my perfect morning was about to turn into the worst nightmare of my life. As I sat at my desk, checking my emails and preparing for what I thought would be my promotion meeting, I noticed a beautiful woman walking through the office. She had long blonde hair that looked like it cost a fortune to maintain, and she wore expensive designer clothes that probably cost more than my monthly rent. She carried a fancy purse and was taking selfies everywhere she went. "Who is that?" I whispered to Jasmine, who had rolled her chair over to my desk. "That's Vanessa Sterling," Jasmine whispered back, looking worried. "She's some kind of social media influencer. I heard Mr. Blake met her at a fancy party last week. Apparently, they're dating now." My eyebrows shot up. "Dating? But Mr. Blake is married." Jasmine shrugged. "I know, girl. It's messy." Vanessa walked around the office like she owned the place. She looked at everything with her nose in the air, as if nothing was good enough for her. Then she stopped right at my desk and stared at my computer screen. "What are you working on?" she asked in the snobbiest voice I had ever heard. "I'm finishing up a project that will help the company save a lot of money," I explained politely, even though something about her made me uncomfortable. Vanessa rolled her eyes dramatically. "How boring," she said and walked away, her high heels clicking loudly on the floor. I looked at Jasmine with confusion. "Why is this rude woman walking around our workplace?" Jasmine shook her head. "I've got a bad feeling about this, Maya." She was right to be worried. At 10 o'clock sharp, Mr. Blake called everyone into the conference room for an important meeting. I sat in the front row, my heart beating with excitement. This was it, my big moment. I was finally going to get the promotion I deserved. Mr. Blake stood at the front of the room with Vanessa by his side. He was smiling in a weird way that I had never seen before. It looked fake and uncomfortable. "Everyone, I want to introduce you to Vanessa Sterling," Mr. Blake announced proudly, putting his arm around her waist. "She is my new girlfriend, and she's going to help me make this company more modern and exciting." The room went completely silent. I looked around and saw everyone exchanging confused glances. Mr. Blake was married with 2 kids. What was happening? Vanessa waved at everyone like she was a queen greeting her peasant subjects. "Hello, peasants," she actually said with a fake smile. "Richard and I are going to change everything around here. This place is so outdated and boring." I felt a bad feeling growing in my stomach. Something terrible was about to happen, and I could feel it in my bones. "Now, Vanessa has been looking around the office, Mr. Blake continued, and I noticed his voice sounded different, like he was trying to impress her. "And she thinks we need to make some changes. We need younger, more fashionable people working here." My heart started beating faster. Wait, what did he mean by that? We were already a young company. Then Mr. Blake looked directly at me. Our eyes met, and I saw something cold in his expression. "Maya Rodriguez, you're fired. Pack your things and leave immediately." Time stopped. I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach and all the air had left my lungs. My ears were ringing, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This had to be a joke. A terrible, awful joke. "What? Why?" I managed to say, my voice cracking. "I just finished the biggest project of the year. You promised me a promotion." Vanessa laughed, actually laughed at me. The sound was mean and cruel. You're just not cool enough for this company anymore. Richard needs impressive people around him, not plain girls in boring blazers. Plus, your hair is so basic. I felt my face turn red with humiliation. I looked down at my favorite red blazer, the one I thought made me look professional and confident. Now, this woman was calling it boring? And insulting my appearance? Mr. Blake nodded, not even looking me in the eye. Security will escort you out. Goodbye, Maya. Jasmine jumped up from her seat, her face red with anger. This is crazy. Maya is the best worker here. You can't do this. But Mr. Blake ignored her completely. 2 security guards appeared at the door and walked over to stand next to me. I felt humiliated, confused, and heartbroken all at once. I felt tears burning in my eyes, but I absolutely refused to cry in front of these people. I refused to give Vanessa the satisfaction. I stood up slowly, my legs shaking, and walked to my desk with the security guards following me like I was some kind of criminal. My hands trembled as I packed my things into a cardboard box that someone had brought me. My favorite coffee mug that said Code Queen, my family photo with my mom and little brother, my excellence awards, everything that represented 3 years of my life went into that stupid box. Jasmine came over and put her hand on my shoulder. I could see tears in her eyes. This is so wrong, girl. I'm going to quit too. I can't work for someone who would do this. No, I said quietly, trying to keep my voice steady. Don't quit. You need this job. You have student loans to pay. I'll be okay. But honestly, I didn't know if I would be okay. I had rent to pay, my car payment, bills to handle, and dreams that felt completely broken now. As I walked through the office toward the exit, carrying my pathetic cardboard box, everyone stared at me. Some people looked sad, some looked scared for their own jobs, but nobody said anything. Nobody stood up for me. In the lobby, Vanessa was taking selfies next to a plant, posing and pouting at her phone. She saw me walking by with my box and the security guards. Bye-bye, loser, she called out loudly, making sure everyone could hear. Maybe you can get a job as a waitress. Do you want me to teach you how to smile pretty for tips? I kept walking, trying to hold my head high. I walked out into the bright sunshine, and it felt wrong that the weather was so beautiful on the worst day of my life. I put my box in my car and just sat there in the driver's seat, staring at nothing. I had no idea how I was going to survive this. I drove home in complete shock. My brain couldn't process what had just happened. 1 minute I was expecting a promotion, and the next minute I was unemployed and humiliated. When I got to my apartment, I threw the cardboard box on the floor and collapsed on my couch, staring at the ceiling. My phone rang about an hour later. It was my mom, Mrs. Rosa Rodriguez. I thought about not answering because I didn't want to tell her what happened, but I knew she would keep calling. Hi, Mommy, I said, trying my hardest to sound normal. ¿Qué pasa, mija? What's wrong? She asked immediately in her mix of Spanish and English. That's the thing about mothers. They always know when something is wrong, even through the phone. I told her everything. The whole horrible story just poured out of me. I told her about Vanessa, about being fired for no reason, about the humiliation, about everything. When I finished, I expected my mom to be angry or sad. Instead, she was quiet for a long moment. Maya, mi amor, listen to me carefully, she finally said in that wise voice she uses when she's about to teach me an important lesson. When one door closes, another opens. But sometimes we have to build that door ourselves. What do you mean, Mommy? I asked, feeling confused and exhausted. You are smart and talented, Mija. You don't need Richard Blake or his silly girlfriend. You can create your own success, my mother said firmly. Remember this, Maya. Revenge is a dish best served cold. Don't be angry right now. Don't be emotional. Be smart. Think clearly. And when the time is right, you show them what you're really made of. Show them what a Rodriguez woman can do. I didn't completely understand everything my mother was saying, but her words made me feel a little bit better. A tiny spark of hope lit up inside me. Thanks, Mommy, I whispered. Get some rest, Mija. Tomorrow is a new day. And remember, You are stronger than you think. That night, I couldn't sleep at all. I tossed and turned in my bed, replaying the day over and over in my mind. Around 3 in the morning, I gave up on sleeping and sat at my computer. I started looking through files, going over the project I had just finished for Blake Technologies. Then something hit me like a lightning bolt. My eyes went wide as I realized something shocking. The project wasn't just good. It was absolutely revolutionary. It was a software program that could help any company organize its work better, track projects more easily, and save tons of money. And I had created the entire thing by myself during my free time. With shaking hands, I pulled out my old employment contract that I had signed 3 years ago when I first started at Blake Technologies. I read through it carefully, my heart pounding. Then I found one particular sentence that made me smile for the first time since getting fired. Any projects created outside of work hours using personal equipment belong to the employee. I read it again to make sure I understood correctly. Yes, the software belonged to me, not to Blake Technologies. I had created it at home on my own laptop during weekends and nights when I couldn't sleep because I loved coding so much. According to this contract, it was mine. Mr. Blake didn't know this. He thought the company owned everything I created. He thought he was getting my amazing software when he fired me. But he was completely wrong. I leaned back in my chair and smiled. Maybe my mother was right. Maybe this terrible thing was actually an opportunity in disguise. For the first time since being fired, I felt something other than sadness. I felt determination. The next morning, I called Jasmine and asked her to meet me for coffee. We sat at a corner table at our favorite cafe, Java Dreams, where we had spent so many lunch breaks together talking about our dreams and futures. Jazz, I need to ask you something important, I said, leaning forward. Does Blake Technologies have any backup of the software I made? Any copies on their servers? Jasmine thought for a moment, sipping her latte. No, not that I know of. You kept everything on your personal laptop, remember? You said you wanted to surprise Mr. Blake with a final, polished version. A huge grin spread across my face. That's exactly what I thought. Maya, why are you smiling like that? What's going on in that genius brain of yours? Jasmine asked suspiciously. I explained everything. How I owned the software legally, how revolutionary it was, and the plan that had been forming in my mind all night. I'm going to start my own company, I declared, feeling more confident than I had in days. I'm going to use my software and compete directly with Blake Technologies. I'm going to show Richard Blake that firing me was the biggest mistake of his life. Jasmine's eyes went wide with excitement. Yes, that's amazing. Girl, you're going to crush it. But do you have enough money to start a company? Starting a business costs a lot. My smile faded a little bit. No, I don't have much savings. That's the problem I need to solve. But I wasn't going to let that stop me. I had faced my worst nightmare and survived. I could figure this out too. I spent the entire next week trying to figure out how to get money for my new company. I applied for bank loans, but they all rejected me because I didn't have enough collateral. I looked into business grants, but the application process would take months. I was running out of options and starting to feel desperate. Then one day, exactly when I was about to give up hope, I got a call from an unknown number. Hello, is this Maya Rodriguez? A confident woman's voice asked. Yes, who is this? I replied, confused. My name is Diana Ramirez. I'm a business investor. Your friend Jasmine told me about your software, and I'm very interested in hearing more about it. My jaw dropped. Jasmine had told an investor about me? Without even mentioning it? Yes. I'd love to talk to you. I stammered. I met Diana at her office the very next day. She was a smart, elegant Latino woman in her 50s who had made millions of dollars by investing in new technology companies. Her office was filled with awards and photos of her with famous business people. Seeing another successful woman of color gave me hope. I was nervous as I showed her my software and explained how it worked. My hands were shaking as I clicked through the demonstration. But as I talked, Diana's eyes lit up with genuine excitement. This is incredible, Maya, she said when I finished. I've been in business for 30 years, and I've never seen anything quite like this. It's intuitive, powerful, and solves real problems. I want to invest $500,000 in your company." I almost fell out of my chair. Did she just say $500,000? Really? Why would you invest so much in someone who just got fired? I asked honestly. Diana smiled warmly at me. "Because I believe in you, Maya. I can see your passion and your talent. And, to be completely honest, Jasmine told me what Richard Blake did to you. I hate unfair bosses. I've dealt with them my whole career, especially as a Latina woman in tech. Let's teach Richard Blake a lesson he'll never forget, that treating people badly has consequences. Plus, I love supporting women entrepreneurs. We need to lift each other." I felt like I was dreaming. Was this really happening? With Diana's investment, I worked harder than I had ever worked in my entire life. I barely slept. I barely ate. All I could think about was building my company and making it successful. I called my new company Rodriguez Tech Solutions. Just saying the name out loud made me feel proud. This was my company. Nobody could fire me now. Nobody could tell me I wasn't good enough. I rented a small office space in a building downtown. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. I bought equipment, set up computers, and created a workspace. Then I hired 3 talented programmers, 2 women and 1 man, who had also been treated badly by other companies. I wanted to build a team of people who understood what it felt like to be undervalued. The best moment was when Jasmine quit her job at Blake Technologies and joined me as my partner. "Are you sure about this?" I asked her when she told me. "You're giving up a stable job." "Maya, you're my best friend," Jasmine said seriously. "Besides, I believe in this company. I believe in you. And honestly, working for Richard Blake after what he did to you makes me sick. Let's do this together and show everyone what 2 talented women can accomplish." Together, we improved the software and made it even better than before. We worked late into the night, ordering pizza and energy drinks, coding and testing until everything was perfect. "What should we name the software?" Jasmine asked me one evening. I thought for a moment, remembering everything I had been through. "Let's call it Phoenix. Because we're rising from the ashes of our past." Jasmine grinned. "Perfect. And because Phoenixes are badass, just like us." Within 2 months, Rodriguez Tech Solutions officially launched Phoenix to the world. I offered it to small companies for a very fair price, much cheaper than what Blake Technologies charged for inferior products. The software was so good that word spread incredibly quickly. Companies started calling every single day, wanting to buy Phoenix. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. My email inbox was flooded. Jasmine and I and our small team worked around the clock to keep up with all the orders. Meanwhile, through friends who still worked there, I heard that Blake Technologies was struggling badly. Without my software, they couldn't complete the big project they had promised their biggest client. Mr. Blake was in serious trouble. I won't lie, hearing that news felt amazing. 3 months after firing me, Richard Blake was sitting in his office with his head in his hands. I didn't know this at the time, but Jasmine's friends told me later that everything was falling apart for him. His phone had rung that day. It was his business manager, Mr. Thompson. "Mr. Blake, we have a serious problem," Mr. Thompson had said nervously. 15 of our biggest clients have canceled their contracts. They're all switching to some new company called Rodriguez Tech Solutions. Richard's face had apparently turned bright red. "What? Who runs this Rodriguez Tech?" "I'll send you the information right now," Mr. Thompson had said. When Richard opened the email and saw my name, Maya Rodriguez, as the founder and CEO, he threw his coffee mug across the room. It shattered against the wall, leaving a brown stain. That's when Vanessa had walked into his office, carrying shopping bags from expensive stores. "Richard, darling, I need more money for my shopping trip to Paris," she had said in her whiny voice. "Not now, Vanessa," Richard had shouted at her. Vanessa had pouted like a child. "But you promised. You said dating you would be glamorous and exciting." Richard had looked at Vanessa and suddenly realized what a terrible mistake he had made. He had destroyed his company and his reputation for this selfish, shallow woman. When Jasmine told me this story later, I felt a strange mix of satisfaction and sadness. I was happy that karma was working, but I also felt bad that Richard was suffering. I'm not the kind of person who enjoys other people's pain, even when they hurt me first. News about Rodriguez Tech Solutions spread throughout the entire business world like wildfire. A famous technology magazine wrote a feature article about me and Phoenix. The article told my whole story, how Richard Blake had fired me unfairly just to impress his girlfriend, and how I had built my own successful company from nothing. The headline read, Latina Tech Genius Rises After Unfair Firing, the Maya Rodriguez Story. The article went viral. People on social media started talking about it everywhere. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, my story was everywhere. Women's groups and tech diversity organizations were sharing my story as inspiration. People were calling Richard Blake terrible names and saying they would never do business with him again. Some people even organized protests outside Blake Technologies with signs that said, "Women in Tech Matter" and "Respect your employees." Vanessa's social media followers found out about the story, too. They were furious that she had caused an innocent person to lose her job just because she thought I wasn't cool enough. Thousands and thousands of people unfollowed her. Women, especially, were angry at her for tearing down another woman. Companies that used to pay her to advertise their products stopped working with her. Her influencer career was basically destroyed. Richard, do something. Vanessa had cried when she saw her follower count dropping. I'm losing all my followers. This is ruining my career. Your career? Richard had shouted back. What about my company? We're losing millions of dollars because of what we did to Maya. According to my sources, Vanessa had grabbed her expensive purse and said coldly, I can't be with a loser. Then she had walked out of his office and out of his life forever. Richard Blake was left sitting alone in his office, realizing that he had lost everything. His company, his reputation, his girlfriend, and probably his marriage too. I heard all of this through the business grapevine, and honestly, I didn't feel as happy about it as I thought I would. Revenge was supposed to feel sweet, but mostly I just felt relieved that I had moved on and built something better. Meanwhile, my company was growing bigger every single day. It was amazing and overwhelming at the same time. Rodriguez Tech Solutions moved into a large, modern office building with big windows and open spaces. I hired 50 new employees, making sure to hire a diverse team of talented people from all backgrounds, and made absolutely sure to treat every single one of them with respect and fairness. I created an employee handbook that guaranteed fair treatment, equal pay for equal work, good benefits, and a positive work environment. I never wanted anyone who worked for me to feel the way I had felt that terrible day when I got fired. Diana Ramirez was absolutely thrilled with her investment. She came to visit me one day at the new office, looking at everything with pride. Maya, your company is worth $10 million now, she told me with a huge smile. You're officially a millionaire. How does that feel? I felt overwhelmed and emotional. 6 months ago, I had been fired and humiliated, carrying a cardboard box out of an office while people laughed at me. Now I was running a successful company worth millions of dollars and making a real difference in people's lives. It feels surreal, I admitted honestly. Like I'm going to wake up and this will all be a dream. It's not a dream, Mija, Diana laughed, using the Spanish term of endearment. You earned this through hard work and talent. You're an inspiration to young Latinas everywhere who think they can't succeed in tech. The best day was when my mother came to visit my new office. I gave her a complete tour of the building, showing her everything we had built. She walked through with tears of pride running down her face. I told you that when one door closes, another opens, she said, hugging me tightly. You were right, Mommy, I said, my own voice getting emotional. Thank you for believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. Just then, Jasmine walked over with a huge grin on her face. Boss lady, we just got an email from Sterling Industries. They want to pay us $2 million to use our software. My mother and I looked at each other and laughed with pure joy. Everything was working out even better than I could have imagined. While I was celebrating success after success, Richard Blake's world continued to crumble around him. I heard through the grapevine that his wife had filed for divorce after finding out about his affair with Vanessa. His children refused to talk to him. His company was drowning in debt and losing clients every single day. Mr. Blake had called an emergency meeting with his board of directors. "Gentlemen, we need to make drastic changes," Richard had said nervously. "I propose we try to sell the company before we go completely bankrupt." The board members had looked at each other with serious expressions. Mr. Thompson, who had worked for the company for 20 years, had stood up. "Mr. Blake, with all due respect, you destroyed this company with your poor decisions and your ego. We've already voted, and we're removing you as CEO." Richard's face had gone completely pale. "You can't do this. This is my company. I built this." "Actually," Mr. Thompson had said firmly, "according to our bylaws, the board can remove the CEO if the company is in danger. And we are in danger because of your actions. You're fired, Mr. Blake." When I heard the story, I felt a strange sense of irony wash over me. Richard Blake had felt the same shock and humiliation that I had felt 6 months earlier. He had packed his things and left his own company in shame. What goes around really does come around. A week after Richard was fired from his own company, I received the strangest email I had ever gotten. It was from Mr. Thompson at Blake Technologies. I read it 3 times to make sure I was understanding it correctly. "Dear Ms. Rodriguez, I'm writing to you on behalf of Blake Technologies. Our company is in serious financial trouble, and we're looking for someone to buy us and save the business. Would you be interested in discussing this? I know we don't deserve your kindness after what happened to you, but I'm asking for the sake of the 200 employees who might lose their jobs if we go bankrupt. Please consider it. Sincerely, Mr. Thompson." I stared at my computer screen in complete shock. Blake Technologies wanted me to buy them? The company that had fired me and humiliated me now wanted me to save them? My first thought was to delete the email and forget about Blake Technologies forever. They didn't deserve my help. But then I thought about all the good people who worked there. People like Jasmine used to be, people who had nothing to do with Richard's terrible decision. I called an emergency meeting with Diana and Jasmine. We sat in my office, and I showed them the email. "What do you guys think I should do?" I asked them. Diana thought carefully, tapping her fingers on the table. "It's actually a good business opportunity, Maya. Blake Technologies has valuable clients and resources. If we buy them and merge with Rodriguez Tech, we could become one of the biggest technology companies in the country. Maybe even the world." Jasmine nodded in agreement. "Plus, you'd be saving people's jobs. Think about it. That would be the ultimate revenge. Not destroying Richard Blake, but showing everyone that you're a better person than he ever was. You'd be the hero. And you'd be one of the few Latina women to own a major tech company." I sat quietly for a moment, thinking about everything. Then I made my decision. "Let's do it," I said. "Let's buy Blake Technologies." I arranged a meeting with the board of Blake Technologies for the following week. As I drove to that office building, the same building I had been escorted out of by security guards, I felt a strange mix of emotions. Nervousness, excitement, and a little bit of that old pain. I walked into the conference room wearing my best power suit, a sharp navy blue one that made me feel confident and professional. I was carrying a briefcase full of documents. This was the same conference room where I had been fired 6 months earlier. But this time, everything was different. This time, I was in control. Mr. Thompson and the other board members all stood up to shake my hand. They treated me with so much respect that it felt weird. "Ms. Rodriguez, thank you so much for coming," Mr. Thompson said sincerely. "We're honored that you're even considering our offer." I sat down at the head of the table, the same seat where Richard Blake used to sit. The irony was not lost on me. "I'll buy Blake Technologies," I said calmly and confidently, "but I have specific conditions. First, all the current employees keep their jobs. Every single one. Second, Richard Blake can never work in this industry again. That needs to be in writing. Third, the company will merge with Rodriguez Tech and operate completely under my management. Those are my terms." The board members looked at each other and nodded without hesitation. "We agree to all your terms," Mr. Thompson said. "When can we finalize the deal?" I smiled. "Tomorrow." The next day, I signed the papers in front of lawyers and witnesses. Blake Technologies officially belonged to me now. I was the owner of the company that had fired me for being a plain girl in a boring blazer. As I signed my name on the final document, I thought about how much had changed in just 6 months. I had gone from unemployed and heartbroken to owning a multi-million-dollar company. Life is funny sometimes. My first day as the official owner of Blake Technologies felt completely surreal. I walked through those familiar hallways and saw so many faces I recognized. Some people looked nervous, clearly worried they might lose their jobs under new management. I called everyone into the conference room, yes, that conference room, for an important meeting. As I stood at the front of the room, I looked at all the employees and remembered how I had felt sitting in their seats 6 months ago. Hello, everyone, I began. I know you're all worried about your jobs. I want to tell you right now that nobody is getting fired. Not a single person. The room erupted in applause and sighs of relief. Some people were actually crying with happiness. I continued. This company made a terrible mistake by treating people unfairly. But that's going to change completely. From now on, we're going to treat everyone with respect and dignity. We're going to have equal pay for equal work. We're going to support diversity and inclusion. We're going to work hard, we're going to be honest with each other, and we're going to become the best technology company in the world. Are you with me? Yes. Everyone shouted together, and the sound filled me with pride. After the meeting, employees came up to me one by one. Many of them apologized for not standing up for me when I was fired. I'm so sorry, Maya. One woman said with tears in her eyes. I should have said something. I was just scared for my own job. It's okay, I told her genuinely. I understand. We're all moving forward now. That's what matters.
And I meant it.
I wasn't holding grudges against people who were just trying to survive. Over the next few months, I completely transformed the company. I renovated the offices to make them brighter and more comfortable. I gave everyone raises, real, significant raises. I created a work environment where people actually wanted to come to work instead of dreading it. I installed the Phoenix software throughout the entire company, making everything run smoothly and efficiently. Productivity increased by 300% in just 2 months. Clients who had left started coming back. New clients were calling every day. I also started a special program that meant a lot to me personally. It was a free training program to help young women and people from underrepresented communities learn computer programming. I partnered with schools in low-income neighborhoods and offered scholarships. I wanted to give others the same opportunities that life had eventually given me, but without them having to go through the pain first. News channels and magazines wanted to interview me constantly. They called me the boss who rose from the ashes and the most inspiring female entrepreneur of the year. I was on the cover of Business Weekly, Tech Today, and Latina magazine. My story was being taught in business schools and women's empowerment programs. But through all of this success and attention, I stayed humble. I never forgot where I came from or how it felt to be treated unfairly. Every time I walked through my company, I made sure to talk to employees at every level, from executives to janitors. Everyone mattered. Jasmine became the vice president of the company, and she deserved it. Diana joined our board of directors. My mother visited the office every week, bringing homemade empanadas and arroz con gandos for everyone. The employees loved her, and she loved them. Everything was perfect. Well, almost everything. There was still one piece of unfinished business. Richard Blake had lost absolutely everything. His wife had taken half his money in the divorce. His children wouldn't speak to him or even answer his calls. Vanessa had moved on to dating a younger, richer man and posted photos all over social media. And Richard couldn't find a job anywhere in the industry. Every single company he applied to rejected him. Word had spread throughout the business world about what he did to me, and nobody wanted to hire someone who treated employees so badly.
I didn't know any of this at the time.
I had moved on with my life and rarely thought about Richard Blake anymore. Then one day, I was shopping for groceries at a store near my apartment. I was in a good mood, humming to myself as I pushed my cart through the aisles. I grabbed some milk, bread, and my mom's favorite Café Bustelo coffee. When I got to the checkout line, I looked up at the cashier and froze. It was Richard Blake. He was wearing a store uniform and scanning items with a tired, defeated expression. His hair was grayer than I remembered. He looked older and exhausted. Richard looked up and our eyes met. His face turned bright red with embarrassment. "Maya," he whispered, barely able to get the word out. "Hello, Richard," I said calmly, even though my heart was pounding. Richard's hands were shaking as he scanned my items. I'm sorry," he stammered. "I'm so sorry for what I did to you. I was stupid and cruel and sexist. I destroyed my life, and I hurt a good person for no reason. I judged you based on your appearance and gender instead of your talent. I paid for my groceries and looked at my former boss. This man, who had once had so much power over me, now looked broken and small. You did hurt me, Richard," I said honestly. "But you also gave me the greatest gift. Even though you didn't mean to, you motivated me to become successful on my own terms. You showed me what kind of leader I never want to be." Richard had tears actually running down his face now. "Can you ever forgive me?" I stood there in that grocery store checkout line, thinking about his question. This was the moment I had dreamed about sometimes, seeing Richard Blake broken and apologizing. But now that it was happening, I didn't feel the satisfaction I thought I would feel. I thought about Richard's question carefully. I remembered all the pain, humiliation, and fear I had felt on that terrible day 6 months ago. I remembered crying in my car, feeling like my life was over. I remembered the sleepless nights and the anxiety about paying rent. I remembered how he had let Vanessa insult my appearance and call me plain. But I also remembered my mother's wisdom about not letting anger control my life. I thought about the person I had become and the company I had built. "Richard, I forgive you," I said finally, and I was surprised to realize I actually meant it. Richard looked up at me with shock and relief. "You do?" "Yes, but forgiving you doesn't mean I'll forget what happened," I explained. "It means I'm choosing to move forward without carrying the weight of hatred and anger. Hating you would only hurt me, not you. And I refuse to let you have any more power over my emotions." Richard nodded, wiping his tears with his sleeve. "Thank you. That's more than I deserve. Much more." I pulled out one of my business cards and handed it to him. "Listen, I know you're struggling. I'm not offering you your old job back. That would be weird for everyone. But I am offering you a chance to change and rebuild. Come to my office next Monday. We have an entry-level position in our mailroom. If you work hard and prove yourself, maybe you can rebuild your career one step at a time." Richard took the card with shaking hands, staring at it like it was made of gold. "Why would you help me after what I did to you? I don't understand. I fired you to impress a woman. I was a terrible person." I smiled. "Because someone once told me that when one door closes, another opens. I'm not going to be the person who keeps doors closed for others, even for people who hurt me. Everyone deserves a second chance, Richard. Don't waste yours. And maybe working from the bottom will teach you what you never learned as a CEO, that every person matters, regardless of their position." As I walked out of the grocery store, I heard Richard call after me.
"Maya."
"Thank you. I won't let you down." I waved without turning around and loaded my groceries into my car. As I drove home, I felt something lift off my shoulders, something heavy that I didn't even realize I'd been carrying. Forgiveness really does set you free. When I got home, I called my mother and told her what had happened. "I'm proud of you, Mija," she said warmly. "You've become not just successful, but wise. That's the real victory." The following Monday, I was in my office reviewing some reports when my secretary called me. "Ms. Rodriguez, there's a Richard Blake here. He says you're expecting him." "Yes, send him to the mailroom supervisor. Tell them I've hired a new employee." About an hour later, I went down to the mailroom to check on things. Richard was there wearing simple work clothes, sorting mail into different bins. His new supervisor, a young woman named Maria, who didn't know anything about Richard's past, was showing him how the system worked. "You're doing great," Maria was saying. "Just make sure the labels are facing up so they're easy to read." "Yes, ma'am," Richard said respectfully. I watched for a moment from the doorway. Richard Blake, who used to be a powerful CEO, was now taking orders from a 23-year-old woman. To Richard's credit, he wasn't complaining or acting superior. He was genuinely trying to learn and do a good job. After a few minutes, Richard noticed me watching. He came over, looking nervous. "How's it going?" I asked. "It's humbling," Richard admitted honestly. "But I'm learning a lot. I never realized how hard people at the bottom of the company work. I used to walk right past the mailroom and never even acknowledge the people working there. I never appreciated how much work goes into keeping a company running." I nodded. "That was one of your biggest mistakes, Richard. Every person in a company matters, from the CEO to the person who cleans the bathrooms. Everyone contributes to the success." Richard looked at me with genuine respect in his eyes. "You're a better leader than I ever was, Maya. I can see it in how people look at you. They respect you, but they also like you."
People were always afraid of me.
I thought fear meant power, but I was wrong. "Fear isn't leadership," I said. "I learned that by watching what not to do. So, in a way, you taught me something valuable too." As I walked back to my office, I felt good about giving Richard this chance. I didn't know if he would take advantage of it or waste it, but at least I had done the right thing. 3 weeks later, I was working late in my office, going through some contracts, when my secretary knocked on my door. She looked uncomfortable. "Ms. Rodriguez, I know it's after hours, but there's a woman here named Vanessa Sterling. She says she desperately needs to speak with you. Should I call security?" I sighed deeply. Vanessa. I hadn't thought about her in months. Part of me wanted to say yes, call security, but curiosity got the better of me. "No, it's okay. Send her in." Vanessa walked into my office, looking completely different from the last time I'd seen her. She wasn't wearing designer clothes anymore. Her hair wasn't perfectly styled. She wasn't wearing much makeup. She looked tired, older, and genuinely desperate. She was carrying a regular purse from Target, not one of those expensive designer bags. "Maya, I need your help," she said immediately before even saying hello. I leaned back in my chair and looked at her calmly. "Why would I help you, Vanessa? You called me plain and boring. You said I had basic hair. You laughed when I was fired. You suggested I should be a waitress and learn to smile pretty for tips. Why should I do anything for you?" Vanessa's eyes filled with tears, and I could tell they were real tears, not fake ones. I know I was horrible to you. I was shallow, mean, and cruel. I judged you based on your looks instead of your talent. I tore down another woman to make myself feel important. But now I have nothing. No followers, no samples, no modeling contracts, no money. I can't even pay my rent next month. I'm about to be evicted from my apartment. What happened to all your rich boyfriends? I asked, unable to keep the coldness out of my voice. They all left me the second I wasn't famous and popular anymore, Vanessa admitted, her voice breaking. I learned that fake friends disappear the moment you have problems. And I was the fakest friend of all to Richard. Karma caught up with me, Maya. I was terrible to people, especially to other women, and now I'm paying the price. I studied her face carefully, trying to figure out if this was genuine or just another manipulation. "What exactly do you want from me, Vanessa?" "I don't know," she said, crying now. I wanted to apologize. I wanted to tell you that I was wrong about everything. You weren't boring or plain. You were talented and smart and kind. I was the one who was empty inside. I'm so sorry." I looked at Vanessa for a long moment, seeing what appeared to be genuine regret in her eyes. I thought about what my mother had taught me about forgiveness and second chances. I thought about Richard working hard in the mailroom, trying to rebuild his life. But I also thought about how Vanessa had specifically attacked me as a woman. She had used sexist language and judged me on my appearance. How she had encouraged Richard to fire me. That hurt differently. "Vanessa, I'm not going to just give you money," I said firmly. "That wouldn't help you in the long run, and honestly, I don't think you've earned it." Her face fell with disappointment. But I continued, "I will give you something more valuable than money. A chance to change and prove yourself." Vanessa looked confused. "What do you mean?" I explained my idea. "We're starting a new project here at Rodriguez Tech to help small businesses learn digital marketing and social media strategy. You actually know a lot about social media and online presence, even if you used those skills in shallow ways before. I'll hire you to teach others how to build honest, authentic online businesses and personal brands." Vanessa's eyes widened with surprise. "But you'll start at the bottom, with a small salary that's just enough to live on," I continued. "You'll have to prove yourself every single day. You'll have to show that you've actually changed and that you care about helping others, especially young women, instead of just helping yourself. And you'll need to take some courses on women's empowerment and professional development. This is your only chance, Vanessa. If you waste it or go back to your old ways, you're on your own. Do you understand?" Vanessa nodded eagerly, tears streaming down her face.
Yes.
"Yes, I understand. I won't let you down, Maya. I promise I'll work hard and be better. I want to learn how to lift other women instead of tearing them down." "I hope so," I said. "Because women should support each other, not compete against each other. That's something you need to learn." "I know," Vanessa said quietly. "I spent so much time seeing other women as competition. I was wrong. I see that now." "Start Monday morning," I told her. "My assistant will send you the details." As Vanessa left my office, thanking me over and over, I realized something important. Giving people second chances wasn't just about them, it was about me too. It was about the kind of person I wanted to be. I didn't want to be someone who held grudges and kept people down. I wanted to be someone who lifted people, even people who had hurt me. That's what real success looked like to me. A year after I bought Blake Technologies, my company had become the most successful technology business in the entire country. We had thousands of clients across the world, 500 employees, and the company was valued at over $100 million. $100 million. I still couldn't believe it sometimes. I organized a huge event to celebrate the company's success and to thank everyone who had helped make it possible. I rented a beautiful hotel ballroom and invited everyone: employees, clients, investors, business partners, and journalists. The room was filled with people talking, laughing, and celebrating. I stood at the front of the room with a microphone, looking out at all those faces. "Thank you all for coming," I began. "A year and a half ago, I was fired from a job I loved. I was humiliated, heartbroken, and terrified about my future. I thought my life was over." The room went quiet, everyone listening carefully. "But that terrible moment became the best thing that ever happened to me," I continued. "It pushed me to discover my own strength and to build something amazing. This company's success isn't just my success. It belongs to every single person who works here. You are all the reason we're thriving. And I want to especially thank all the women and people of color who helped build this company. We're proving that diversity isn't just the right thing to do, it's good for business." The audience gave me a standing ovation. The sound was overwhelming and emotional. I saw my mother in the front row, crying tears of pride. Next to her was my little brother looking at me like I was a superhero. As I looked around the room, I spotted Richard Blake standing in the back corner. He had been promoted to team leader after working hard and proving himself for months. He was wearing a nice suit and looked healthier and happier than he had in a long time. Next to him was Vanessa, who had become an honest and respected teacher in our digital marketing program. She had cut her hair shorter and dressed more professionally. She looked like a completely different person, or maybe she just looked like her real self for the first time. She was actually smiling genuinely, not that fake influencer smile. Both Richard and Vanessa were crying tears of gratitude. They knew they didn't deserve the chances I had given them, but I had given those chances anyway. And they hadn't wasted them. Jasmine walked up to the stage and hugged me in front of everyone. "You did it, girl. You really did it." "We did it together," I corrected her, smiling at my best friend. After my speech, people came up to congratulate me and share their own stories. Female employees told me how much it meant to work for a woman CEO who actually understood their struggles. Young programmers from our scholarship program told me I had changed their lives. Clients told me they trusted our company because they knew we actually cared about doing good work. As the party continued, I stepped outside onto the hotel balcony to get some fresh air and a moment alone. The city lights sparkled below me. I thought about everything that had happened, the pain, the struggle, the triumph, and the growth. My phone buzzed. It was a text from my mom. "I'm so proud of you, Mija. Not because you're rich or famous, but because you stayed kind even when the world was cruel. That's real success. You showed everyone what a Rodriguez woman can do." I smiled and looked up at the stars, feeling grateful for everything, even the bad parts that had led me here. That night, after everyone had gone home and the celebration was over, I sat alone in my office. The building was quiet and peaceful. I looked at an old photo on my desk, a picture of me from a year and a half ago, right after I got fired. In the photo, I looked scared, young, and lost. I barely recognized that person anymore.
My phone rang.
It was my mother calling to check on me, like she always did. "Hello, Mija. How are you feeling?"
Mummy.
"I'm good. Really good. Thanks for coming to the celebration today. It meant everything to have you and little brother there," I replied. "I'm so proud of you, Maya," my mother said, her voice full of emotion. "But I want you to understand something important. I'm not proud of you because you became rich or famous or powerful. I'm proud because you stayed kind even when the world was cruel to you. You forgave people who hurt you. You gave second chances to people who didn't deserve them. That's what makes you special, Mija." I felt tears forming in my eyes. "Mommy, I couldn't have done any of this without your advice. You taught me that revenge doesn't mean destroying others. Real revenge means proving them wrong by succeeding and becoming a better person than they ever were." "That's exactly right," my mother agreed. "You took something terrible and turned it into something beautiful. You helped people, created jobs, and showed the world what true leadership looks like. And you showed young Latinos that they can succeed in tech. That's your legacy, Maya. Not the money or the company, the way you treated people and the doors you opened for others." After I hung up with my mother, I walked over to the big window in my office and looked out at the city lights below. I thought about Richard Blake, who had fired me to impress his lover. He thought he was getting rid of a problem employee, but instead, he created his own downfall and gave me the push I needed to achieve my dreams. I smiled, thinking about the irony of it all. Richard had wanted to look powerful and impressive in front of Vanessa. Instead, he had lost everything and had to rebuild his life from scratch, working for the woman he had fired. But here's the thing I realized. The real victory wasn't about owning the company or being worth millions of dollars. The real victory wasn't about Richard working in my mailroom or Vanessa losing all her fake followers. The real victory was the person I had become through the journey. I had become someone who used success to lift others up instead of putting them down. I had become someone who gave second chances even to people who hurt me. I had become a leader who truly cared about every single employee, from the CEO level to the janitors. I had become a role model for young women and girls of color who needed to see someone who looked like them succeeding. Richard Blake had tried to destroy me, but instead, he had created someone better and stronger. As I turned off the lights in my office and prepared to go home, I thought about tomorrow. There were new challenges to face, new people to help, new dreams to chase, and new ways to make a difference in the world. But tonight, I was simply grateful. Grateful for the journey, grateful for the lessons, grateful for the people who believed in me, and yes, even grateful for Richard Blake firing me that terrible day. Because sometimes the worst things that happen to us become the doorways to our greatest achievements. I, Maya Rodriguez, had been fired to impress someone's lover. But I had ended up owning the company, changing hundreds of lives, and discovering my true purpose. And that, my friends, is the sweetest revenge of all. Sometimes life pushes us down not to destroy us, but to help us discover how strong we really are. Success isn't about getting revenge on people who hurt us. It's about becoming so successful that their actions no longer matter. As a woman, I learned that other people's opinions about my appearance or whether I'm cool enough don't define my worth. My talent, my character, and my hard work define who I am. Treat everyone with kindness and respect, because you never know who might become your boss one day. And most importantly, when you succeed, use your power to help others rise too, especially those who face the same barriers you did. That's what makes you a true winner. Remember, when one door closes, another opens. But sometimes we have to build that door ourselves. And when we do, we should hold it open for others coming behind us. Special message to young women. Never let anyone make you feel like you're not good enough because of how you look, where you come from, or what gender you are. Your brain, your heart, and your determination are what matter. Keep coding, keep dreaming, and keep pushing forward. The world needs more of us in positions of power.